from a written record yet, I'd love to tell you a little bit more about what we do. So we exist to empower entrepreneurs, small business owners, and small business leaders, and we do that through events like today. We do that through one-on-one consulting with our team and other professionals in the community. We also do that through a co-working space downtown at the Arnold Innovation Center, networking events, pitch events, and we're super excited to be here today. We're going to go ahead and get started with today's panel. I would love it for this to be just informal, interactive. I think it's rare for us to have an opportunity to have such a wide variety of entrepreneurs with us today. And yeah, I would just love it if you guys would participate and ask questions. And if you don't, you know, I'm gonna just make it awkward and make you ask a question. No, I'm kidding. I won't do that to you. So we can go ahead and get started. Thank you guys for being here with us. Sarah's like, I will. For being here with us today, we can go ahead and get started with introducing yourselves and your business, and where you're from. Just tell us a little bit about you, and we can get started with Ed.
My name is Ed Link. I'm from here in Conway. I'm an old Wampus cat. We Wampus cats here. Two, really? That's it?
That's it.
So I've had a crazy career path. There has not been one direct path for me. I think I'm on my 7th or 8th career, and I'm only 45. So anyway, I'm probably not the path you want to follow in your career, but I've had a lot of fun along the way. But I run Barham's Ozark Beef. We are an LLC. We started in 2019. My stepdad, who is Charles Barham out of Ozark. Anybody from Ozark, Franklin County? Yeah, they're not big on education. I'm just kidding, Charlie. I'm sorry. So,
And we're live on Facebook.
No, I'm just kidding, Ozark. But he's been a cattle rancher for 43 years. And so in 2019, he and I decided to get together and do a farm-to-table beef concept. Neither one of us really had experience in it, and we just did it. And so far, so good. So thank you for letting me come out and share my wisdom.
Yeah.
Experience, maybe. Experience is probably a better word than wisdom. But thanks for letting me come out here and talk to you guys.
Right. My name is Katana McFarland. I'm from here in Conway. I am a Wampus cat. But I am actually a Wampus cat. But I graduated high school in 2015, and I started my first business in 2017. I started off going like the regular route to college. I was going for graphic design, and then quickly realized I didn't like sitting in the classroom very much. And so I decided to go straight to the workforce. Kind of like Ed, I've had a few different careers already at this point, but it kind of all led me to Leafy. So I started off in graphic design and marketing, and that was like my first business. Now I've moved on to Leafy, where I do leadership consulting for small business owners and nonprofits. So basically just helping entrepreneurs get started, get their vision set up, all of those wonderful things so that they can be successful. Where
Like,
All right, y'all. My name is Sarah Long. I am the owner of Top Notch Heating and Air. We are a 100% woman-owned heating and air company right here in Central Arkansas. We live in Conway, but we service all of Central Arkansas. And this is my husband, Stephen Long. He and I say I'm the owner. That's for marketing purposes, for grant purposes, for like appearance purposes. The person who runs the company is my husband. So it's kind of weird to say that he's technically an employee of me, but we just call him the CEO. And so he runs the whole thing. I focus on like back office support, marketing, community enrichment, community engagement, things like that. So I also started off, I graduated here from UCA with both my bachelor's and my master's in nutrition. So I'm a registered dietitian, not for much longer because I'm giving it up, but I became a registered dietitian. We moved to Dallas. We did a stint in Dallas. We did a stint in Gainesville, Florida, at the University of Florida, where I ran food service for all of those. I ran the athletic program food service for the Florida Athlete Gators. I hated my life. I hated my job. I hated the Florida athletes. Everything.
Sarah, we're live.
Yeah, sorry, Florida. I hate it all. We decided, and then COVID happened, so we moved back, COVID happened, and we decided, let's do business together. And let's do this. And so we started, our first business was called Home Services. It's a heating and air. We also hated handyman work and remodeling, and that was some hard lessons learned. And now we are just heating and air, and we love it. We finally found it. And so here we are, in our full year business.
Well, my name is Stephen Long. As you heard everything about me almost. I am the CEO of Top Notch Heating and Air. I grew up in a little town, Mountain Pine, so that's a very small town just on the outskirts of Hot Springs. I've always grew up in the trades, just in HVAC, and I've always done that my entire life and just have a real true passion for it. And kind of like what she said, it just hit me one day when I was driving home in my service truck. It was like, I go through all of these steps for other companies, and what could I do to obtain customers and everything, just if we started our own. And it was just that thought process of changing. Then we jumped. It was very scary to jump, and we did it, and the sky's the limit now. So.
Awesome, thanks y'all for doing it. Question for you all, but before we get started, do any of you have questions with what they've shared so far? Anything you're curious about? No, okay, all right. So, let's talk about whenever you started your business. So a lot of the time starting a business often involves maybe solving a problem that you've identified, or maybe just an opportunity. So what inspired you? I know some of you have touched a little bit on that, but what really inspired you to start your business, and how did you identify that need in the market? Any of you can go.
So for me, I was on a work trip to Dallas, and I was at like a burgers, barbecue, brisket type place. Stand in line, and I look over on the wall, and there's a poster of the farmer where they source their beef. I'm like, we can do that. Charlie raises cows. And so for some reason, I'm like, yeah, we need to do that. I mean, that was what spurred the whole stinking thing, which now there's a lot that came after that. And also the position I was in life at that time. I'm married. I've got a kid. The second kid wasn't born yet, so I've got two little girls now. One's 7, one's 2. But my wife is an engineer. She got her PhD in material science from UCSD in San Diego. She's super smart, has a very super stable job, and that allowed me to go take some liberties and explore new business. And so, especially as you get older and have a mortgage and all this other stuff, it can be a lot more difficult to start a business unless you've got someone there that can support you financially through that. So that was inspiration, but also what gave me the courage and the ability to go actually start a business. Was a poster in Dallas, Texas. I couldn't even tell you the name of the restaurant, and then my wife, Mariana. I'm Mariana.
So for me, it was probably, I was living in Oklahoma City, and I was working for an organization in their marketing department. And I just started there, honestly, within like maybe 60 days or something like that. Still sort of that probationary type of period. And I was looking around, and the organization had just a wonderful culture about their company. I started interviewing sort of other people that I work with in other departments, and realizing that people really love working there. And it started making me ask why a lot. So, and it wasn't like sort of that cold answer of everybody has the same exact words that they're saying, but in their own life stories, they were finding this organization fitting all of their needs. And it made me start to wonder, how do you get businesses and organizations to the point to where no matter who they hire or what they do, people genuinely love it there, and it can easily fit into other people's stories. So I just started asking a bunch of questions, honestly, and realized that what I was doing with marketing, trying to figure out why people like a product, why people like a certain thing, and thinking about people's mindset, I can apply the same thing to businesses and organizations and how they function, and making it a place where people enjoy being and owning.
Steve and I should say that we've been together since we were 16, which is very rare and weird. And we didn't necessarily plan on that, but that's just how our lives ended up together. And so we've done our whole lives together at this point. And all of our jobs we've had have had the worst, management, bosses. We just have never had a great working experience, whether it be coworkers, management, whatever. And it was really wearing us. And then when we took the Florida jobs, that really is what broke us. They paid me to relocate to Florida for the job, and because I left within the year of the job, I was gonna have to pay all that back, but it was like $5 or $6 grand that I was gonna have to pay back. But we left knowing that, like, it was that bad, like I left knowing that I paid back, luckily they didn't pay me, but I took that risk knowing I was gonna pay that back. And so we knew that we wanted to work together, we knew that we wanted to do something different, but we didn't have any money. We just had our jobs and we had enough money to have our house and our kids, and but that we didn't have any, like, we don't have any rich family, we didn't have anything.
Yeah.
So we took a loan out. We actually only had one vehicle at the time. We took a loan out and was able to get student a work truck. And we sold a little bit of land and bought a trailer for Steven to put stuff in. And that's what we needed to start, and it kind of took off from there.
Yeah, it's pretty much all about determination. You know, once you set your mind to it, you gotta go. And I kind of pivot off Ed a little bit over there. When you first start something, you know, you at least have maybe a parent or a spouse that has that a little bit of security when you first jump, because you're going to need it. There's no doubt about that. Because there's thousands of things you have to figure out, as Sarah and I are still figuring things out even now.
Yeah.
But just having that little bit of security there, so you can focus on just keep moving forward and what to do, and just building your trade or whatever you're getting into. After that, so like us two, you know, we're both in it. She worked in Greenbrier just for, I think, was it 3 years before you jumped in?
Yeah, so Steven when he quit, I did a whole other year at the district on that.
Yeah. So there was a little bit of a time, so, you know, we could both focus, because it takes two people to do this at least. And just having a little bit of security before we pull the trigger and then go all in.
Last year of working, I drove a school bus for Greenbrier, which I don't.
No way.
Yeah, I have my CDL, I drove the school bus for Greenbrier, and I don't recommend that.
Hey, one thing to add to that is, I was working at the Conway Area Chamber of Commerce for a year while developing Farms Ozark beef. So I was selling to coworkers, selling to people I knew from the Chamber of Commerce, and that helped me kickstart things. When I left the chamber, I was like, oh no, where's that money gonna come from? And so I started teaching baseball lessons. Any baseball player? I see some athletes here. Any baseball players? Come on, baseball team. Soccer, thank you guys for being here. But teaching that's all soccer, right? Yes. Yeah. But being able to teach baseball lessons, something I know inside and out, to a bunch of 6, 7, 8, 9, 10-year-olds, that allowed me some cash flow that I desperately needed, because the cash flow wouldn't come from beef because I was getting reinvested. That money goes back in if you're really trying to grow something. And so it was, you know, it gets tight. And so nothing I hear.
Yeah, just to pivot off you, I guess we're just gonna do this.
Yeah.
Jump in whenever. When you first start, you have the security of somebody around you, at least in your group, that has to take care of your house, your bills, and all of that. But any money that you make on your business, if you're first starting, you're not gonna put it in your pocket. You're gonna reinvest it back into what you're doing to make it bigger and make it expand employees, trucks, you know.
So I am single, I'm not married, so I didn't have like that spousal support starting off, so I worked a part-time job, and then a full-time job at first, and then did my business at night, just whenever I could build it, whenever I could do it, because that's just kind of what you have to do. Like they said, any little money that you scrape together and get in from people, you have to put it straight back into paying those business bills and, you know, all the other things that you have to take care of for your business first and make sure that it can grow. Because ultimately that's what you want to be doing, right? Like you want to be to the point where you can quit your job and you can just focus on your business, but you don't get there if you're just putting the money back into your own pocket the whole time. So
I love how each of you has like a different entry point. Do you guys remember your first clients and like what that interaction was like? Was it positive? Was it scary? How did that come about? And when did you get to a point where you're like, okay, I'm leaving the chamber now, like I'm at a good point, or did you just take the leap? Like, what did that transition look like for you guys? But really, I'm interested in first like customer experiences, first client experiences. What was that like? The
So,
cold calling?
no, so I've done sales and marketing for my entire career. I went from any Northwestern Mutual interns into it. It's usually a couple. Northwestern Mutual to a bank, to the Little Rock Chamber, to a logistics company, to Target, working in a warehouse, to commercial real estate in California, to the Coleman Chamber, and now here. I think that's my path. So all that was sales minded. So I've never minded sales. My first customer though, so I mentioned my stepdad raising the cows. Well, my dad was my first customer. They bought a half beef. They had no business buying a half beef. They ate on that for like 3 years. Just him and my stepmom and mom Mel together. And so my first non-family customer was Cecilia Elliott from the Conway Chamber, who was one of the nicest people in the world. And she was so excited she'd get some beef straight from the farm. And that was my first customer. So I tried to say, hey, you got 2 cows in October, 2 in November, 2 in December. See what you can do. And if you sold, if it worked out, we'd keep going. And it worked out.
For me, it was a small church in Huntsville, Alabama, that they had just heard of me from a friend, I think, like on their social media or something like that. They've been recommended. And so I went out and I was super nervous. I was going to do a leadership retreat for them, like their annual leadership retreat with their executive staff. And I'm not gonna lie, y'all, I threw up in the parking lot. I went in because I was that nervous and I had been preparing for months. But I remember in my first meeting, I was like, it was a Zoom call, thankfully, but like my hands were shaking. So I was just sitting there, like I couldn't drink my water because they would see. I was like, yeah, I can do that for you. But I just wanted it to go well so badly because I was investing so much into it. And it did, thankfully. But it was nerve-wracking. It was super nerve-wracking.
We had our first customer was a principal at the school I worked with at Greenberg, her husband, and they wanted some small handyman stuff done. And I think I remember their bill being like $800, maybe not even that. Maybe not even that. And we were like, whoa, $800. We were like, wow. We were like really pumped about it. We're like, oh my God, we're gonna be so rich. I mean, and now, it just last week, and I humbly say this because we have been through the ringer, but just last week we put a bid on a $600,000 project. Where we would profit about $250,000 one time, and that just blows my mind. You can get it, but it's still like even the opportunity just blows our minds. That like me, like it just.
Yeah. So if y'all select to do entrepreneurship, when you're sitting in these seats, a lot of things would excite you. It's just an opportunity. Hey, I got you. You're asking me to help you.
Yeah.
And that's the big excitement for us.
Yeah.
That's all it takes for it.
I have a question. Can I interrupt?
Yeah, of course.
Okay,
Please ask questions.
So this goes off of what you all just talked about. I think a lot of people being in their career for the first time, or even people I know that have been in a field for 20 plus years, have imposter syndrome. I'm not qualified. How am I doing this? I'm not a business owner. Like, this is crazy. Can you share your experience with that more, and just how you overcome that and what that looks like? Because I feel like everyone struggles with that, and I feel like you guys, have successful businesses. So
I'll start. So I'm a registered dietitian. My background is nutrition. I could save you nutritionally. I can run TPNs. I could do it all right. Okay, my husband was like, hey, let's do eating there only. I was like, great. I don't know anything about eating there. He's like, you'll be fine. You'll be fine. So I was like, okay. And like, I would, before we had business development, before we had anyone, I would do the cold calling. And so I'd have to know some basics, but man, cold calling, apartment complexes, trying to get their work, and then trying to like talk with customers on, what's going on in your system? Oh, it's not blowing up. Oh, yes, we can help you with that. Like, I had no idea what's going on. He can just sit it out, but like, it's a constant battle of like almost faking it till you make it, and having that confidence. And just knowing like, this is what feeds our family, this, I have non-employees that work for us, that's what feeds them. And so like, we have to do it, so.
Like, like role playing, so if you
Yeah.
guys not, there's millions of parts and how things happen and stuff on HVAC. But it's like just role playing, so if she can throw me questions, I'll throw her questions that I know that the customer's gonna ask, and that helps her try to get familiar in the thinking process of it as well, just to help her.
Mhm.
But I think to kind of directly answer the question, I think surrounding yourself with just really good people, and supportive people that have your back, always encouragement, because there's definitely hundreds of times that you're going to feel down and you're not good enough. What am I doing? It's going to hit you all the time. But just surrounding yourself with good quality people.
I would say for me, so a lot of my imposter syndrome usually comes from the fact that I don't have a college degree, especially when I first started off, because the people that I work with are business owners, people who probably went to college, you have an MBA or something like that, like you're technically more educated than I am in a traditional sense. And so sometimes I'm thinking to myself, like, what value do I really have to like add to this business or to this organization, to this person, other than what they already know? But it's funny because me and Ed were just talking about a program earlier, and he was saying like, it might not have been stuff that I didn't already know. It was more of just the environment, having somebody retell me even stuff that I already did know, and then a little bit of extra that I didn't, that really like kind of puts the fire under you to do what you need to do. And so kind of bouncing back off of them, it is more of surrounding yourself with people, but also just realizing, like, if you have people you're working with, customers, clients, whatever you call them, and they give you that feedback to say that you're helping them and you're benefiting them, believe it. So don't second guess the value that you have to add, because they wouldn't pay you if you didn't have value. That nobody's just throwing out money just because, right?
Well, I didn't know a damn thing about beef. I knew I liked it. It was good.
You like to eat it?
I like to eat it. But if you put 3 steaks in front of me, I couldn't tell you the difference between the 3 of them. And so for me, it was a lot of YouTube University. Anybody been there?
Yep.
Been on YouTube University. I just like watching people process a cow, which is, I'd much rather than doing like Netflix, like Marvel movies or something. But I was like, I need to learn this stuff. And then, we talk about partnering with people. My stepdad, who I said raises cattle for 43 years, he knows what he's doing. And so he and I had a lot of conversations about the cattle industry, the commodities industry. And man, it's so complex. You look at it, it's just a cow. No, man, it's so much more than that. And then the processor that we used, I don't know how many hours I was on the phone with them asking the dumbest questions you could ever imagine. And I wish I had those recorded. I really do. So I can go back and replay that part of my business journey. But they taught me a ton about, the different cuts on for beef and different ways to do things. And some people like this, some people like that. I mean, there's just so much that I didn't know. I just didn't know. But I was all in, so I wasn't going back. So I had to learn it. So there was no other option. I had to learn it. It's still learning. We're thinking about getting into pork. I kind of dragged my feet, so I know how much I had to do to learn about beef. And I need to go do that about pork now, And so you'll find that as you pivot and do different things, you'll have to go learn those things. And on top of that, we haven't really talked about the back end of our businesses yet, but I do my website. I had to learn WordPress, Divi, WooCommerce, how to use Google ads, how to do Facebook ads, how to it just goes on. Type into Google or YouTube how to do something. I feel like I'm doing that every single day. Still doing that a lot of times. And then one other little thing I'd throw out there to you guys is there's this thing called Toastmasters. Anybody heard of Toastmasters? So I want to plug Toastmasters real quick. When I was in my 20s, I went to Toastmasters for about 5 years. It was every Friday at noon in Little Rock. They got one here in town on Mondays at noon at the U.S. Bank downtown. And you practice communicating, you practice giving speeches, you practice evaluating speeches. Learning how to communicate for me was possibly more valuable than my college degree. And I know I'm in college, but when I look back on what I use the most of, the social skills you learn in college is a big deal. The fundamentals of business and marketing you learn is a big deal. But man, when you learn how to communicate, that changes things for you. Because I'm the one on the camera talking about, hey, come down to the Conway Farmers Market, you know? If you follow my socials, I mean, you're gonna get tired of seeing this. And it's like right here, it's not from this fine, you know,
I
long
did get a
distance.
notification on my watch yesterday and I clicked it and it was your face and I was like, oh, hey.
So you wanna, you know,
Yeah.
that's what happens. So get used to communicating, especially in the world, I don't know that you guys are as familiar with it as much because we've got phones. And I don't communicate with other people like I used to because I've got a phone. So find something where you actually have to project and speak in front of people, and it'll suck. It'll be scary. You'll be shaking. Don't hold paper. If you got a padfolio, like a businessman over here has, hold on to that because when that shakes, you don't hear it. Okay, I'm telling the truth. I've been in front of people and you can hear the paper shaking because I was so stinking nervous. Get your padfolio.
Just to piggyback off of what you said about YouTube University and having to learn all of that, the amount of hours that I've spent on YouTube, Googling, and even like having a degree or like going, because I'm in school now, but even getting that formal education, there's gonna be questions that people probably will ask you or things that'll come up like on the back end of your business that you just don't know how to do, and you need resources like the conductors, a little plug, or you know, just Google helping you to figure out like, how do I do this one thing? I don't know how to build a website. I don't know how to do this or that. I don't know how to use MailChimp to all of its fullest capacities or anything like that. You know, but you're gonna have to be a self-starter and a self-learner. Read a book, open up Google, do something to like get yourself what you need because it might not be readily available to you all.
There's no excuse to be ignorant anymore. You have every tool in front of you to be a genius at whatever it is you do. So if you go all in on something, go all in, learn it inside and out, surround yourself with good people, and you'll do well.
Absolutely. Do you guys have any questions?
Nothing? Literally anything.
Yeah, I will stare at you guys.
Your biggest setback, you're like a failure for during the process before you got started.
Yeah, that's a great question.
I can answer that. For sure. I think, and this is gonna seem like super motivational speaker-ish, so sorry if it's kind of cringy, but I think my biggest setback was probably not being all in, 100% not being fully committed to it, because then you're always thinking of your B plan, your way out. You're like, I could go back to doing this, or I could go back to lean on this. And the thing is with like, if you're an entrepreneur, there's gonna be pitfalls, there's gonna be roadblocks and all sorts of things that you have to get over. So if you're not determined in your mind 100%, I'm going to do this thing, any little thing is gonna take you out.
It's hard to keep that negative thought out.
Yeah.
I mean, every now and then you're on LinkedIn, it's like, what kind of jobs are there open out there?
Yeah.
Just to see. I mean, for me, I think setback wise, I haven't had any just horrible setbacks. It's been relatively smooth, probably compared to some entrepreneurs, but the finances is a big one, especially now with interest rates being so high. It's like, golly, if I don't get a loan, this is going to be like 10%. You know, it's 10%. That's a lot of money when you're talking, you know, $20,000 loan. It's 10% of $20,000, and that's what you're paying. I mean, it just adds up. You know, so that's probably the biggest challenge I'm seeing now is when you get into that cash crunch, and every business has it. There's times where like, God, I can't believe how much money I got in the bank. Where are we gonna go this month? And there's like, oh crap, man, I may not pay myself this month. And that's a reality. Like I'm in that now. Like I'm in that cash crunch today. Like I was arguing with my wife. No, having a discussion with my wife. Sorry, babe. I love you so much. It was not an argument. But we got a rental property and she's wanting to put sprinklers in it. Well, I don't because of the money. You know, is that value going to pay off anytime soon? And my argument is no, hers yes. So we're going to get sprinklers. You know? But when you look at your financial, that's something that I struggled with early. Going through that 10X program with the conductor helped me remind myself, oh yeah, I used to do finance. I used to do accounting because I went to college, you know, a long time ago. And so you have to, you know, kind of dust that off if it's something you hadn't used in a while. But understand the numbers. You need to know the numbers. So if you're not good at accounting, you're not good at math, go get good at accounting, go get good at math if you want to be a business owner. It's going to come up a lot.
I'll piggyback off of that. My real pitfall, probably when I first got started, was not having my personal finances and my business finances separated. And then and it's fine, like you said, when you have money in the bank, but then you run into that cash crunch type of situation, and it's like everything's all mixed together. It's hard to really separate that out to figure out what you need to do.
Get a lot of credit.
Yeah, we've had so many struggles. We are both young and we don't have business degrees and we don't have family help and we don't have the uncle that has a business and those things. We just don't have that. And so we're on our 4th CPA, we're on our 4th bookkeeper, we're on our 2nd lawyer. And I think we just were quick to hire and quick to try to get help. We knew we needed help, but we were unsure of where to get some of that from. And so finally, we're at the lawyer in town. We have a good CPA who gives us blunt feedback because we are not great at accounting also. And he gives us great feedback. But then really one of the really hardest times was realizing that we needed to let go of the remodeling cleaning inside of it and move on. We had some bad employees that didn't quick to hire. We had 2 bad employees. There was some drug situation and some just very poor decisions. And so we had to cut them. And then we were in the middle of a big kitchen remodel for our home here in Conway, and it just was a hot mess. And then dealing with all the CPA issues and then the lawyer issues, and it's one thing after another. And so we finally decided we would fresh start with our bookkeeping entity. It's nice, but we're still kind of having to like pay that our first business. So just a constant.
Just having to basically repay just from our learning experiences.
Yeah.
When you first start, you're not going to know, or you're a bookkeeper, right? I'm not going to know if I'm new. I don't know if you're the right fit for me. And so on and so forth with accountants and all that. But you have to weave through those people. And unfortunately, when you make a bad decision, when you're on your own, you got to pay for those decisions that you make. But it's just part of the learning curve.
We always say like, oh, it's just learning. We're just learning. And then like, we'll come home like, we're freaking tired of learning. Over it.
Setting my stuff on the counter, it's like, man, I'm really tired of just learning.
God, can we just do it?
Thank you so much for being open. I think it takes courage, and it's just incredible to hear them say some of this stuff. Will you say something?
Yeah, I was gonna say, then there's, speaking of attorneys, had a talk with them yesterday, because somebody wrote me a hot check for $1,600.
Oh.
They paid $600 of it back. There's still $1,000 out there. He's got 20 beef in his freezer. And to go through the legal system to do that costs money.
It costs more than
Costs more than you're
And you don't know if you're gonna get it. You don't know if you'll collect it. He's probably, I hope he's watching. I won't say any names, I'm not that guy, but.
Please cut that.
Yeah, no, leave it in, because it's so bad that somebody would do that, and anyway, so that's a setback, about $1,000, and it happens, and the attorneys I talked to is like, you can pursue it, or you just write it off.
Is it worth it to you?
Is it worth it, man? And I talked about that cash crunch I'm in, is it worth it?
Any other questions?
I don't know.
On. We've got a little bit of time, so.
Is anybody thinking about doing their own business, their own thing?
Say show hands.
I already got a little contract with FAA in Conway. We do road traffic.
We do heating and air conditioning.
If y'all are thinking about it, now is a good time.
Yeah.
So we got some soccer guys up here. What are you doing between games? What do you do on those days that aren't days off? Practice, guys. You're supposed to say practice. Okay. So you're in college. Okay, you're used to being broke. There's nothing wrong with that. I'm still used to it at 40. This is a great time to practice. Start a business and just practice. I don't care if you love it or not. Doesn't matter. There's fundamentals that you'll learn about starting a business if you just practice at your age. I regret not doing that. I didn't do this until I was much older. Yeah.
And I'll add to that too, you don't have, I mean, if you get involved and you make connections, you have the most connections right now in your young adult life. I don't want to say the most, but one of the most, that you'll have the opportunity to do that and to talk to people and talk about your business. And so as people get older and they look to hire someone for, HVAC and, they want to buy beef, it's like, start it now, create that network now. And even if you're, only doing it 10 hours a week, it's a good time to start.
It's be an entrepreneur. It'll be fun.
And it is, and I'm a horrible employee, horrible employee.
Did you guys have to deal at all with like the fear of judgment from others of like starting a business?
Yeah, I would talk on that one just a brief. I think, you would think when you start your own business that your family would have your back. They'll be your first ones to try to pull you back down. So just be prepared for that.
Yeah, and like being a woman in a male field, a white male field, it's difficult. I've had two very clear situations that I was less than my husband, and they wouldn't talk to me. They only want to talk to my husband. That contractor we no longer work with or use because we are very diverse and we support diversity and inclusion in our company, especially being women. And then another situation where I was arguing the charge on our account, and they again were like, "Well, we'll talk with Steven about this." And I had some kind words for them. But it's very difficult sometimes to be automatically judged about being a woman and to be it because I can handle my own for sure, and it's annoying to still have that mentality of.
And all those things just hit you constantly every day, plus the whole company in general problems, it starts to wear on you after a while. So you just mentally have to figure that situation out, and everybody's a little bit different.
It's actually a really good segue of how you guys kind of navigate the emotional challenges that come with being an entrepreneur, and how do you maintain that work-life balance? Like you guys work together. What does that look like for you guys, the balance between home and
So I see you had a question, just a second on that one. We've been together since 9th grade of high school. So we've always been together. We like spending all the weekends, and every moment, basically, we're together. We have 2 kids. I know when we're at work, we're focused on work 110%. So fortunately, in our position now, we have employees, so we got a lot of opportunities to delegate things. It was very difficult at the beginning because when I went to work, I come home, I'm still getting calls, I still got to go to work, so I'm still in work mode. So it's not fair to her. Is when I'm in work mode, I'm gung ho, right? But when I'm at home, she needs my attention to her, and my kids need my attention. So I had to learn, mentally, I had to learn how to make a wall there, basically.
He's still learning.
I'm getting a lot better. But just having to mentally realize what's going on and having just that click of I need to stop talking about what I'm doing at work and hey, how was your day? What was the kids doing? Was there is there something I can help you with? And I think that's what helps. Just really proper communication, being open and honest to each other.
We have a rule in our relationship that we don't lie and we don't withhold, and that's it seems like obviously, but with withholding information too. And so if we have something to say, we say it, even if it can be kind of hard or hurtful. We don't intentionally mean to hurt each other, but that's just our rule, and so it's helped us.
For me, I guess mentally and emotionally, again, I'm single as a but I have a wonderful support system of friends. And although my family, kind of piggybacking off what you said, my family is sort of supportive. I think where it gets difficult with that support is they worry, right? Especially I'm younger. I'm the baby of my family. My parents worry about me, month to month, because you say, get in that cash crunch situation sometimes. And they're like, are you sure? You're so qualified to go and get a job, or so that you go get a job type of mentality, but you're thinking to yourself, I work all the time. I do have a job, right? I'm already working. And so I think mentally for me, one, having that boundary, like you said, of the work-life balance, you have to put this stuff down at some point. It'll keep you up at night, you'll work yourself to the bone. But you have to remember that like the whole reason I started this business, other than that I wanted to solve a need, was that I wanted the lifestyle of being free, being able to spend time with people that I love, having that flexibility, but I'm spending all of my days working. That's not what I'm trying to build. That's not the life that I'm trying to build. So it's more about just building a business or building a customer base or making money. It's about building the type of life that you want to have also. And so I think for me, just keeping those people that do support you close to you and setting healthy boundaries of like, at some point you have to stop checking your emails. Like even just a very practical thing that I do is I only check my emails on certain days, which I know is a risky thing to do depending on like the business that you have. But with my business, I can afford to do that. So I have set days and my clients know, I let them know ahead of time, these are the days are my communication days so that I'm not all the time, like all day checking my email, answering the phone, looking at this thing or that thing or social media. I do all of that stuff at a set time. That's my front stage day is what I call it. My backstage days, I don't talk to anybody. So yeah.
That's great.
I've never had it.
Yeah, I mean, you might not be able to do that, but yeah, there's some people with questions.
So you had mentioned that cold calling and sales, I'm sure you guys have done it too. How did you get over the fear of cold calling and doing sales like that?
Gotta make money.
Yeah, we had nothing to make now, we had 2 employees to pay, and we didn't have anything coming in.
Yep, so you cold call, if you were cold calling on Monday, I know I gotta pay a lot of money on the payroll on Friday. Just have to make it
Yeah,
happen.
and like I called one and I screwed it up and I stuttered a lot, and then I was like, okay, maybe I should write something down. So like I wrote something down, and then that helped, and then I got the tactic of, because everyone has a heating and air person, and so like I already knew that. And so, but my goal was to become an approved vendor for like contractors or companies. And so, and then I was like, well, let me send you an email. And so in the email, it had like a flyer with our faces on it. So we don't look like Hobo Joes. And it had our W-9 and it had our certificate of insurance. It had our workers' comp. And so like I blasted them and they're like, wow, you know. And so if they sent me anything back, any kind of response or anything, I would go to the site and I'd go to the apartment complex and I'd say, hey, I sent you that email. I just want to introduce myself in person. This is who we are. Here's some more stuff. And then constantly, and then that's how we got a bunch of them.
Yeah,
That's how we
so
got found blue here.
it really does work.
It really does work.
Doing the cold call, doing a couple of emails, showing up on the door, just saying, hey, how you are, making a box of cookies. We'll just know how we can help you.
I was sitting in a meeting the other day and they said that somebody asked a question about cold calling too, and these were about companies about your size, not a little bit bigger. And the advice was call people in another state, practice in another state, choose the state you like the least, and just start calling people. Don't mess up your backyard. Like do that towards the end. So
Yeah. Oh, I just screwed up right here in Conway. Don't mind me.
And I would add to that, so I think subconsciously for me, I took jobs where I would be social. And I would go meet other people, other business owners, other professionals. And so when I look back, I worked at the Little Rock Regional Chamber of Commerce, that went into the sales position. I worked at the Irvine, California Chamber, went into real estate position after that. Then here in Conway, that went into business ownership. So when you think about what you do with your time, are there things you could be doing where you go meet a lot of people, especially if it's a specific industry that you want to focus in? For instance, we've got 2 rental properties that we're looking to do Airbnbs with. Well, we're looking for somebody to manage an Airbnb. Well, this guy over here does real estate, and he also does Airbnb. Well, he does real estate. Well, now he can sell his houses. Oh, by the way, I also have this Airbnb management company. I'm like, man, that is the smartest thing I've seen a 20-something-year-old do, maybe ever. But he positioned himself in both areas really, really well. And so I'm a big fan of networking. Find different groups you can go interact with and meet people and get to know them. And then make sure you keep up with them. So your phone, it's got contacts in it, right? You hit the little plus button, you put their name and number in. It's not just for going out. Okay, guys, this is also for business. And what I would do is I would write a note where I met them, if I remembered something about them, you know, because then literally 20 years later, I'll meet somebody like, man, how's, you know, or you didn't used to work it. I would have all that information, and I call it my brain, and so that allowed me to have deeper relationships with people, even if I hadn't seen them in 20 years, because I remembered some things about them, and then sometimes they would me as well. But networking is, it's not a chore. It can be fun. Go have fun with it. It shouldn't be boring. It
Most
should
times
be.
there's drinks.
There's drinks, there's food, you know. I mean, this is considered a networking event, I would think. So y'all stick around afterwards and, hey, what's your idea? You know, what do you want to do? Maybe we can partner together on a business. I mean, you never know who you're going to meet when you get out there and actually meet people.
And I would just
I was just gonna say, so the networking, scripting it out and role play would help you with those phone calls.
I was gonna say, piggybacking off of this, just the networking part. Marketing is a huge thing. You do need to market yourself, but I will say, starting off my business, 90% of my clients were from networking. I didn't have to market myself if I just stood in front of people and said, hey, what's your name? And you know, I know that's not gonna work for every single business model, depends on what you're doing, but for me, because my business is working with other businesses, then the best thing for me to do is go to a business networking event, right? Because that could be my next client right there that I'm talking to. So.
Yeah, a lot of these events are free and a lot of them are paid for. But some groups are free, some are paid for, some are cheaper than others, some are really expensive. I would just try to get your most out of the free ones before you start paying into a lot of the expensive ones.
And when you go to those, be interested in the person you're talking to.
Not just you.
Don't force them to be interested in you. Ask them their name. Ask them what they do. Learn about them. They'll inherently ask about you at some point, but be interested in them.
What's another hand for questions?
So as an entrepreneur, how important is to have a mentor, and if you think it's important, why?
I think it's really important if you can find one,
Yeah. If you can find one that fits your vibe.
Right. Because like them, I don't have anybody. Like, I don't have family members or the rich uncle or somebody, you know, with a business. So you have to learn all that stuff on your own. But you can save yourself a lot of headache and heartache if you find somebody who knows what they're doing.
Stephen and I joke and say that the only people that we hang around now are people we pay. And that is like classic entrepreneurship, but like we pay for our employees, obviously. So we hang around them all day. And then we pay for our mentor. We found a great one and she's fantastic. We pay for her. And we pay for a personal trainer to train us in the gym because that takes thought to do that, and we pay for that. And so things we do, we pay for now. A lot of people are able to do that. And not on, and when you're first starting your journey, you might not be able to afford a mentor, pay for one. But man, getting in a group and just trying to find someone to bounce some ideas, and then maybe even putting your money towards a mentor first rather than something else, it's definitely worth it to me.
And when you network with other professionals, you will meet people in other areas of the professional world. I think for me, I don't know if I necessarily have that one mentor. Like if something goes wrong, man, I got to call, you know, so and so. It's like if I got a legal problem, I'll call my buddy Kent. Got an accounting problem or financial, I may call my buddy Osmar. You know, if it's so I've got people in my phone that I know I can call on to ask questions of, and then they can always do the same with me for whatever, you know, if they got a question about how to hit a baseball or something. I don't know what's the best gun to stay. So find some people. You need to have some people in your corner. And if you don't have it, YouTube University.
Yeah. And then when the mentor or the friend or whoever's in your corner, and when they suck, you gotta drop them. And I cannot be. That is like more important than finding a person to be with you is dropping the dead weight, because your friends now are college friends. Once you're done in college, they're not going to be your friends anymore. You may have one or two that you keep up with, but you got a whole new set of life to go through, and you've got to drop the dead weight.
Yeah, I mean, even when you're growing in your business, you'll start out taking off and you'll have the people around you. But once you start climbing and getting to another level, you know, that takes a whole nother mental approach to it. And sometimes these people can't hang anymore, and it's really bad because I really love them to death, but I can't carry a lot of weight. So unfortunately, you have to surround the people around you. It's very important.
We had another business owner that we had we're nice to them. They're nice, but we just don't fell off a little bit because I just weren't, it just wasn't the same.
The same can be
Is that
true.
why we don't hang out anymore?
I was here the whole time.
She wasn't gonna say- she wasn't gonna say anything.
It can be true with your clients or your customers too.
Oh, sure.
Yeah, so
Cut those
especially
off.
when you're first starting off, if you like change your business model along the way, you change some of the things that you're offering or doing, like y'all did handyman stuff at first. Some people might still be trying to call you for handyman work and you have to put your foot down. And even though they're trying to give you real money that you might really need, you gotta stick to what you know you're trying to do. And don't let yourself get distracted by the things that you used to just because it brings in some quick cash.
Not every customer is your customer. And you can say no.
Now, when I got into Northwestern Mutual, if you could fog a mirror, you were my prospect. I was gonna talk to you about life insurance, I was gonna talk about investments. But if you talk to anybody who's seasoned in that industry, they want somebody who's got X amount of dollars in the bank, you know, they've been working for this amount of time, they've got kids or then they get more specific on what they're looking for, who to work with.
All right, guys, before we go to more questions, we have about 5 minutes left, so I just want to make sure you guys know, so if you have a question, this girl's been wanting to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's trying.
I was wondering, like, how did y'all find the appropriate channels and like licensing and stuff to like jumpstart your business?
That's a good question. That's a deep question.
Google first.
I would say, I'm trying to taper my answer because now this is what I help people do.
Yeah.
But what I would say is make friends with people, go to networking events and find a lawyer. Find someone who like is good with filing, who's good with the accounting pieces. Because even if you Google, you have an idea because there's so many options out there. You may talk to a lawyer and you can tell them about what you're trying to do, and they'll say, well, yes, technically you could do this, but it's gonna save you some headache if you just start off with this other thing instead. So
We didn't do that.
yeah.
We used LegalZoom for our first entity. And we paid about $1,000 and had it done, and we did it. We were like, oh, look at that, $50. But then our second entity, we used a lawyer, and I would recommend that route. But we had money to do that at that point.
Yeah.
We didn't have it at the beginning, and I didn't know how much a lawyer cost at the beginning because we didn't have one. And so I don't know.
I would start off like an LLC.
Mhm.
That's a good place, unless you're just a solopreneur, but if you need some separation, like for me, if somebody eats beef and for some reason they get sick, it's probably their cooking. But if it's not their cooking, when they come back to me, I'd better have some separation between my house that I live in
Yes.
and the business that I run. They can sue the business and take everything. I don't want to take my house, my wife would be horribly upset.
The other thing that's really helpful is an insurance agent that you can trust, a business insurance agent. They are not many out there that you can trust, but there are some. And they are very familiar with what you need and what you don't need and blah, blah, blah. So just find someone you can trust. And then like we have a lot of licensure because we're in trades. So it just takes a lot. And just like literally Googling and just trying to figure out how to maintain what's required, and in Arkansas, it varies by state. Arkansas, you can do handyman work up to $2,000, but beyond $2,000, you have to have a contractor's license. And so you can't break up jobs, so to do like one for 15 and one for like 2, you get in trouble for that. So to making sure you have the right licensure and to understand all that. So
Just Google, if you can't afford a lawyer, just don't, at the very least, don't be out here just living life on a hope and a wish and a dream and a
don't
prayer.
really.
Yeah, don't like get a legal Zoom, do something you can afford, just to at least get you started.
And also just a quick plug on that, Conductor does have free resources that we can kind of help you navigate that and give you some guidance on that. So if you have a specific question or any of you regarding that, we also have some subject matter experts that have office hours at our Innovation Center. One is a lawyer. He won't draft stuff up for you for anything like that, but an initial consult to cover some questions and guide you is definitely beneficial. And even if, I think sometimes Googling can be overwhelming, if you want to come to us and meet with one of us and help you either refer you to somebody or connect you with somebody, we want to make that entry to entrepreneurship a lot easier if we can.
for free.
Yeah,
Right.
I've used some of them.
Yeah.
Talk to them.
guys have, anybody have any other questions? No?
Hey, just know you're not gonna know everything when you start. Be okay with that.
I was just gonna tell them like 3 quick words, the pros of entrepreneurship. I know we've talked a lot about like the parts that stink and the hard parts and all those things. So like the 3 things that you love that adds to your life over like working for someone else.
Nobody tells me how ideas are bad. Nobody tells me how to dress or where to be and when. So there's freedom there, but there's also a lot of darkness. It's so free. But I wear a hoodie every day. If not, I'm wearing a t-shirt. But it says be snob. For some reason I like that. I don't know.
Yeah. It's a big pro.
Other than the part dress, that was gonna be one of mine, the flexibility, all the flexible parts of I can work where I want to, I can decide what my schedule looks like, when it looks like, and all of the different things and who I serve. But my second one probably be the fulfillment of it. Really, but like you can sell anything, you can come up with a great idea, but whenever you find something that you're really committed to and you kind of get the people that you want to help and serve and that, you have a passion for it, that makes it all better.
I think a lot of my main one is freedom with my family. I worked in food service management and food service, colleges, hospitals, universities, 24 hours, 7 days a week. So there's no shutting down food service. And so I never had a Thanksgiving and Christmas off. I always worked spring break. I never had those vacations. Then when I started with the school district, I had that time off and I was like, whoa, this is nice. And we love traveling. And so just the freedom of kind of making my schedule, traveling. If my kid gets sick, I don't have to like report to someone that and like beg for my job. And so I'm very, very glad.
Three for me would be freedom is a big one. Just going on for you, gives me a purpose, and helping people. Just if they're asking us to come out and do so, we have something we've got value to add to somebody, and it's helping them in the end. So freedom, purpose, and
Thank you guys so much for spending time with us today.